Motorola, unlike other major smartphone brands with widespread name recognition, has yet to release a new flagship smartphone in over 6 months. Even its last flagship, the Moto Z3, can hardly be considered as such. Instead, the company has focused on the mid-range segment. The Moto G7 family is the latest mid-range smartphone lineup. But for those of you who want more stock Android-like experience, you'll have to turn your attention to the Motorola One and One Power. For the past few months, XDA developers have tracked the development of a new Motorola smartphone codenamed Robusta 2. A pretty weird name, but according to a reliable source, this smartphone will join the Motorola One lineup as the Moto One Vision. Welcome back to QatNip, and come on, let's learn together. Unlike the Moto One and Moto One Power, the Moto One Vision won't be powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon mobile processing platform. Rather, it, along with another Moto smartphone, will be powered by a Samsung Exynos 9610 mobile chip. The Moto One Vision, like its predecessor, will run a near-stock build of Android, as it is part of the Android One program as well. It will, however, boast major camera improvements over the last gen Moto One and Moto One Power. Now focusing on the weird part, apart from Meizu, few brands use Samsung Exynos chipset for their smartphones. For Motorola, this device, along with the other one codenamed Trioca, will be the company's first smartphones with Exynos chipsets. Both devices will be powered by the Exynos 9610 itself, a mobile platform manufactured on Samsung's 10nm FinFET process. The Exynos 9610 has 4 ARM Cortex-A73 CPU cores clocked at 2.3 GHz, and the rest 4 being Cortex-A53s clocked at 1.6 and hence forming an octa-core formation. For the graphics, the chipset has ARM's Mali G72. CDMA patent disputes with Qualcomm are allegedly behind why non-Samsung smartphones rarely have Exynos chipsets. Though Qualcomm denied this allegation back in 2017, it's interesting that it's taken this long for a company other than Meizu to use Exynos chipsets. We'll just have to wait and see how the Motorola One Vision performs once it's available. But the newly released Samsung Galaxy A50 should be a good indicator of its performance, as it has the same chipset. The smartphone will be available in 3 or 4 GB of RAM option, along with 32, 64 and 128 GB of storage to choose from. For the battery, the Moto One Vision will have a 3500 mAh battery, whereas the Moto One Power will have a much larger one, as its name suggests, which would be numbered at 5000. The front-facing camera would be a 12-megapixel sensor with a whopping 48-megapixel one housed at the rear. This is no surprise, as we have already seen a plethora of smartphones rocking 48-megapixel sensors. And if there is a doubt about the processing power of the Exynos 9610, well, it is capable of multi-frame image processing without any post effects at up to 109 megapixels at 8 frames per second. That's quite impressive, right? And also falls along with the new 109 megapixel compatibility of some Snapdragon chipsets which have been updated recently. That translates to about 48 megapixels at 18 frames per second on the Moto devices, which is below the general 30 frames per second rate necessary for zero shutter lag, or ZSL as Qualcomm calls it. Thus, we can assume that the Moto One Vision won't be capable of quickly capturing the 48-megapixel snapshot, unlike its Qualcomm counterparts. We expect the Moto One Vision to be marketed as the Moto P40 in China. The Moto One Vision's codename Robusta 2 suggests it's the successor to the Robusta S and Robusta Note, which are the Moto P30 in China or Moto One for the rest of the world, and Moto P30 Note and Moto One Power respectively. The P40 leak shows a device with dual rear cameras, with the primary one being a 48-megapixel sensor as well, matching what we know and what we have just said. We don't know the specifications of the single rear camera of the Moto P40 Vision at the moment. Motorola is also working on 2 new camera features for the One Vision, though we don't know if other Motorola smartphones will get these features in future Moto camera updates. Although we do know the names of these 2 features, we don't have detailed descriptions for them. The features are Video 3D HDR and Long Exposure. Long Exposure is likely to help the user take better photos in low light conditions, but a tripod would be highly anticipated if this mode is to be at all used. And for the 3D HDR, well, that's pretty confusing by the name itself, and we just just have to wait to see how this function works. The display of the Vision is touted to be a 2520x1080 pixels in resolution. That would mean the device is very tall, having an aspect ratio of 21:9. Rings a bell? Well, Sony also introduced smartphones with this aspect ratio recently, but that cannot be guaranteed at the moment till the device is actually launched. And by the earlier CAD renders of the Moto P40, it can be suggested that it needs to have a 6.2-inch display and hence will be a tad shorter than the Galaxy S10 Plus, along with being a little thinner. One more feature that comes common with modern Samsung smartphones is to be the speculated presence of its punch hole display. It will have a single hole in its display like the Samsung Galaxy S10, but its hole is on the left side like the View 20. The Moto One Vision's hole punch covers a very tiny space which can be calculated by 174x167 pixels, but we do not know if the display is an LCD or OLED panel. Since the Moto One Vision will be part of the Android One program, Motorola will have to commit to delivering 3 years of monthly security updates and 2 years of major Android platform updates. The Moto One Vision will launch with Android 9 Pie, so that means it will receive updates up to Android R. Besides the Moto camera, the device will also rock Dolby Audio, Motorola's own photo editor, photo actions, Moto Display, and Motorola's Face Unlock app. The phone supports Google AR Core and digital well-being right out of the box, as it is to be expected by an Android One device, among the closest to Google. Apart from China, we are not entirely sure where the device will be sold. We'll likely see this smartphone sold in countries like India and Brazil, given the former is where Motorola fully detailed the Moto One Power and latter is where Motorola sells its mid-range smartphones in great volume. We don't know when the Moto One Vision will launch or what price point it will be sold at. So that would be it for this video, and we hope you liked it. A million thanks to our dear subscriber family for your continuous love and support, and until next time, stay tuned for more.